Council for the City of Snellville, Georgia, Monday, February 10th, 2025 to order. We have a quorum. All members are present. First, we'll go through the regular business meeting. Under ceremonial matters, Kelly McElwain is going to recognize for the outgoing stat board members. And then we have a proclamation for Go Red for Women. Ooh, you're all green. Kimberly Goodlow usually comes back for Women's Heart Month. So she'll be here tonight to receive that. Then we'll have the minutes, and then we have the public hearing for Parkland. Do we have some stuff to go over on that?
Yeah, I believe Jason provided some information for the council to.
Oh yeah, I just provided the information to kind of clear up and to provide clarification on what was on the table as far as what the applicant has proposed. Also a little summary sheet of the actions as they currently sit now in their current form. The conclusion, just so you don't have to flip through that giant ordinance. And a couple things about that. In any motion to approve, on number one, the site plan still, as the ordinance reads now, because I'm not sure what it's going to be, it references that dated 11/6/24, and that brings me to my second thing. Whatever happens tonight, we've got the rendering for the final zoning exhibit, so you can see this is much easier to look at. The actual zoning exhibit is here, and it's basically named what it was on the front. So all you have to do is reference final zoning exhibit 03/30/2025 if you want to pick that one. And it's labeled on the front of your rendering, so you can reference it really quick. It's been consistently called this. Every time the date changes, we just change the date.
So on these, they both say
1:30:25.
Yeah, but that's fine. Let's not get to that one yet.
All right.
Let's stay here. So look, we got the final zoning exhibit. This is choice number one, or A. However, well, let's not say A. Choice number one.
That's not what we talked about.
Okay, and then you're just this is all you're gonna reference. And I'm not rendering, just final zoning exhibit. The date is in there to signify
that it's not one of the previous ones.
Yeah, and to also tie it to this date, which never changes. It won't change with our received stamp, so that ties it down to 1:30, okay, for this plan. Secondly, the same thing on the next one, just with a different name. So, concept option 8, alley, date, 1/30/2025. Yeah, and then it's referenced, that's this plan with this date. Okay? So those are really, anything outside of that you want to go change around? We can manage it during the process too. I'm pretty much see these in my sleep now.
Okay. And just to review, with the alley option, revised concept option A, alley, the variance that we would need to add into the ordinance 2025-01 would be, that's the first ordinance for the rezoning, would be UDO section 401-2.3 part B. Is that correct?
I believe so.
So we talked about which we need to allow an exemption from section B specifically.
Just say, and if you'll define it as civic space.
Civic space.
That's all you really got to hit, and we'll clean up the rest.
That's 401-2-B.
401-2.3, section B.
41.2-1B.
If that's the route we'll go, I'm sure we'll be helping each other with the process.
And what condition would that have?
You just add it at the end would be fine, whatever the last one is. So that you can put it in.
That'd
So it's
be-
a whole nother condition that.
Yeah, I mean, you
Well-
would need to have it to make that plan work under the current code without them having to come back for a variance. That's gonna take care of it if that's the one you choose. Basically just exempts the requirement for civic space, which, because that plan basically,
Okay.
eliminates it, so.
So it goes under a condition, I
So,
don't need
no,
to
it
add a
should be-
variance.
A variance, you can
It
do it
should be
either way,
variance
right?
K.
Variance F.
How should we do it?
Because there's
It's
5
okay.
variances that were
Oh.
eventually adding, remember they dropped those others.
Yeah, I would think we
Would
would
be
want
F.
to.
Do you want to condition it?
No, I would think I and J are in the packet,
So they probably need to be,
so,
Well, it's a little,
Even
you
though
guys are
those two
looking at
are-
you guys are looking at the denials as well as.
right. But since they were in a packet, we would,
Well, that's not the public disseminated packet. This is the one that went out to the public.
okay, well, this is what was on our
Is one-
website. This is what I asked Jason to print for us.
Okay, he's right, yeah.
2025.
K, add to variance, K.
Okay, so what I'm looking at is no longer, that worries me incrementally.
We'll just label it K.
We'll fix the nomenclature, just, if you get the intent in there, we'll clean it up. If you're clear about the intent, we can fix the document.
And so tell me what it is that we're eliminating the
No,
need for them to have things,
No,
green space in
well,
the
the
project?
only way, regardless of which one you choose, if you choose concept option, well, the first one doesn't require any new conditions except for the attachment of this plan under the date.
Okay.
And there'll be another condition, I believe, that will result on either choice is to any, building elevations for the commercial building will need will need mayor and council approval prior to building permit issuance. Because they want to see that again. I understand because they didn't have time to get them done, they just didn't have enough time, but they agreed to it. So that basically will make sure it's up to code and we'll bring it down to you guys. Just, I mean, even in something like this, as long as everybody agrees to it and it's been approved, doesn't necessarily need a public hearing. And we've done that a couple times and it's gone pretty well. So that's this one, the final zoning exhibit, which is what the applicant is going to present or has presented.
Ordinance actually.
And then,
that approval would require, it'll have to be voted on.
yeah, that would be for any motion made we would attach the right map and then also attach that you guys come back. We don't have to vote on the
Building elevation.
no, you could have it, couldn't you do something like in here if everybody approved it, Tony? If you
If that's
brought
what
a
the
plan
condition
back?
says, if the
If-
condition says,
Just approval, right?
right.
Yeah, okay, so that way.
We probably
we
want
don't
to
have
sign off on it.
Yeah, we could do something just to sing or something. Okay. So then concept option A, now we're moving totally different. If that is the one that goes forward to, we have to, in order to make the plan work, because there's no park or civic space that's connected to the right of way here, they would
Oh,
just need to
yeah.
be vary and exempt from that section that Christie read, 4 point, whatever, I have it written down.
441-2.3, Part B.
And that just doesn't mean, that just means that in order to adopt this one, that has to be done to make it comply with the code.
Okay, but tell me what that 401, whatever it is, what is it saying that it has to have?
Oh, civic
Download.
space. Civic spaces, and it's the definitional intent of it is civic space has to be an open or connected to a public right-of-way, basically, or open and accessible to be used by the public. So civic in nature is public, so before,
So before you had this park,
Yeah,
and now
so
you're
that's-
not gonna have a park, you're gonna have driveways
so
and an alley.
that's the code issue there, is to make it work with this, we have to change that so that we don't get it in, if that's the way it goes, and then have to stop and say, hey, you need a variance now.
But so the reason for the variance is there's a certain amount of civic space required for this size development.
And the type of space.
And so you're waiving that
Right.
as a variance
Right, to make this plan.
to make the
happen.
second plan work.
Correct.
Jason, doesn't the 1 acre park that fronts on Page Street right there, doesn't that meet the intent?
I mean, it's up to the attorney to make, I don't,
I think it means part of it, but it's probably not enough.
Well, right, it went from
You're waiving the
1.5
size.
acre to 1 acre.
Yeah,
so.
you're just
But
waiving
you're
the
also
size
eliminating the one over on.
But one of the, as I
Henry
see it, one of the big differences in the two plans is this has what, Jason, you and I talked about, the Bethany Park Audubon, it just runs straight through here, whereas this one comes in and, correct? So there's a
Correct. And
big
there's-
difference in the
the
roads.
20-foot wide alleys too, they're not built to the same size as a street, so they're only
Yeah.
20 feet wide. I think that's the other concern, is the width, because the alleys, typically, in Gwinnett's code, they make you run a connector to the main road every 8 units, because they don't want the travel to be, they don't want them to have to travel the full length of the drive to get in or out if you're coming from here. And it's a two-way street, so it's just gonna be tight, and you're just worried with that open of the space that it turns into the Audubon. Now you could condition it with some kind of speed humps or something like that, but typically we don't get that deep into the,
Right.
that down, so.
Right, because now you've got the potential of people coming in off of Henry Clower to get to the commercial spaces,
Right, and just, yeah.
Well,
using the alley now as a street.
but you also have access there on what's labeled as Wesley Way, so.
You would have anyway in that area. Within that term.
But now this one doesn't show all the addition of trees.
Now, let me tell you that too. Concept A was quick and dirty because they were not able to get it back to their renderer. And in order to beat the time, they did like basically, and you can tell the colors are a little different. They did like an Adobe Illustrator to cover this up. The trees will still exist. I don't know to what degree. You can ask the applicant. They have to meet minimum requirements. They don't get to go just straight scorched earth on the green. So I would assume you'll see something similar, at least code compliant. So ask them to speak to that, because they didn't put them on the secondary plan either, see?
Yeah.
Do that, even though we don't have a public hearing.
Well, I mean, we're gonna have
This is a public hearing.
yeah, I mean, if we
We just
present,
might not have allowed public
Public
comment.
comment.
because,
Okay.
well, if we
But if-
present
but
a
if-
new plan,
But if we're presenting this new plan, we'll probably do public comment.
I think we should, right?
Which, both of them are in plans.
Yeah, well, I was gonna present
Oh,
this
good.
one,
Great.
Which one are you presenting?
this one, the main one.
New one?
Option A.
No,
No.
main. I'll allow the applicant to
Number
present
one.
the
Okay,
alternate if you
okay.
want.
The final zoning
Final
exhibit.
zoning
Yeah.
exhibit, okay.
This is the
okay.
one I think the applicant is putting before.
That's
us.
correct. The alternate was done to show that they still prefer this one. So I'll present this one, but the other one they have, there needs to be discussion, of course.
Okay.
Do it. But this is, I'm gonna kind of just present this one, talk about the few changes that came as a result of what we heard from the public, the council, everyone else, the addition of these sidewalks. They shifted a couple buildings, connected the spaces, added some plantings along Page, and then I'm just gonna leave it at that. And then you can ask me questions, obviously. Then I assume the applicant get an opportunity to speak on anything that I may have missed, and then we'll just go through that process. And then all the way down, I would assume from public comment, and then just everything else will be the same.
So Jason, there's unquestionably a condition number 5 that has to do with architectural and the commercial.
Correct.
That goes in no matter what they do.
Correct, because we didn't get up-to-date renderings, and the ones that they turned in were not compliant. Conceptual in nature.
That condition of architecture has to be. And then K is depends on their
Oh, it's right in right out. So here's. Yes, see, this is further down than the red one, so this is open, but this is right and right out. So you can't leave or go back.
Well, it's almost time to go in, or make
Now,
Well,
yeah.
this is the dry, yeah, they're using this as a dry now. Yeah, yeah, so that goes away basically. Okay. Clear as mud?
Okay. And then we have, Jason, were you gonna say something too? I think all the other first reads are,
Y'all wanna talk now, I would be ready to answer questions on any of it, because since we talked about it, how we're gonna do a little bit more first read in here.
right,
I brought my files, I'm pretty familiar with all these. We just real quick, we've got the sign, the Snell sign, we know about that, we've all talked about that. We have the UDO, oh, don't forget the trash one, we forgot the trash condition. The dumpster, we just make sure on the last one that the dumpster is built to current UDO standards. Not the ones that are in place now, because we're about to put some more stringent ones, and we wanna make sure they use those. So, current UDO standards at the time of LDP issuance, or whatever, however you wanna state it, but we don't want them to use the ones that are now, so that was the last change, we forgot that one. Then we have the sign, townhomes are coming up on Split Silk, which is basically south of the Enclave. It has alleys, streets, there's a few variances. Haven't gotten a lot pushed back there. We did have a little bit of, we had the Summit Chase crowd in there for the planning commission. They were concerned about stormwater. We basically talked about the requirements of what it takes to get stormwater to work on the site, that they should be in better shape when they started as far as sediment treatment and quantity. That was really the only pressing issue we had with that one. What's the last one?
We have a public hearing at 6:30.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Or-
was that
Well, that
one?
clock is,
Alcoholic beverage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the
that clock's
UDO
fine.
update,
That clock's
which
still
has the changes that we talked about a while back, mainly townhome and special events facility. Along with that will be an alcoholic beverage update that addresses the licenses for, and that, we've almost got that cleaned up, for the special event venue. Those are the two of note. Some other stuff is clean up.
Dumpster,
And that's it.
dumpster closure.
Yeah, that's in there too. And we got a detail in there and some specs on there too, to keep it, to put the door in, basically to help us with trash.
Have we talked to or notified
Yes.
any of the special event venues?
Not
that
yet.
We were updating this?
I've talked to, I had two groups that were trying to serve alcohol. I usually talk to about once a month, and they're still interested. The bigger thing for this code will be to kind of set the tone for where they can go to, because you don't necessarily just kind of like the religious facilities, you don't want them in tiny shopping centers, so it gives a maximum, it gives parking regulations. It also really prescribes how the alcohol is to be done too. I think that's very important. It's going to be done by licensed carers, or whether they're resident or non-resident, they'll have to show their papers and then also apply for a license with us. So they tell us they're going to do the big events so they can provide security, traffic calming if necessary. So we'll have a lot more control over what's happening, and I think that'll keep us from having that issue where they kind of a pop-up club, you know?
Did that, I guess my question though is, for the ones that are currently operating, have we notified them that we were making changes to where they could be aware of what was being discussed?
Yeah, I talked to the two. There's only two people really that are operating. I talked, there's a lady over in Crown Point, and then our friends up on the Helsinki, is it Promenade?
Yeah. But what about there, because there's one here at Heritage Village too.
No, I've not talked to them. I mean, I think we've got everything covered. I don't think we missed anything, but we can let them know. when we see
Yeah,
them.
well, I mean, just to let them know that we're doing these public hearings, that,
Then they're gonna have to ultimately, they're gonna have to come in and commit to the SUP process to be able to get the alcohol licensing. And we did that just so we didn't grandfather in any non-compliant uses and kind of create a monopoly of those spaces, kind of like we do with the used cars. So you'll get to vet them all along the way, so we can make sure we don't have any.
Well, if we could run like our business license and anybody that's
We will.
listed as
We
an
can do
event
that.
hall, just send them a letter and say, hey,
Maybe we'll call them, there's not that many. I
okay,
think
but
it's
we're
worth the
changing,
call.
we're making changes here and, you know,
Are we coming back here?
that public hearings, you know, public hearings are
Not tonight. Well, I mean,
if they want to read the ordinances and,
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it'd be better for them to know about it and read it and say,
Let them know that's-
yeah, something official.
So they make,
Emergency shooter name tag.
Because, I mean, it's fine, it'll be much easier, I mean, at least for us to be able to regulate know what's going on.
It'll give them an opportunity.
And offer so long.
I mean,
So now's the time for them to be talking about it, not.
Yes, I know, I.
There's a motion to adjourn, is there a second? And a second by Carrie, all in favor?
Your voice got very deep.